Welcome back to the Orchard, top of the fourth inning. Pippins lead it 2-0. I'm Harmon Johnson alongside my dad and color analyst Dwayne Johnson. And now a third man has stepped into the booth, or as my professor back home, Ken Fisher, would say, a man has stepped into the arena. Rob Neyer, the commissioner of the West Coast League. Welcome back to Yakima.
It's great to be here with you again.
Yeah, we got to talk last year during the Father's Day weekend. Talked a lot about the advances the league was making in technology and the hype around the All-Star game that last year. But I want to really just start off this conversation with, we implemented something new last Friday. You and I were both down in Salem for the first West Coast League Game of the Week. What went into that process of trying to get one game a week featured? We got another one coming up this Friday.
Well, every offseason, we try to come up with something that we haven't done before to sort of just expand the reach and the of the league and get the word out. And I'll give all the credit to the Portland Pickles owner, Alan Miller. It was Alan's idea. He thought it would be fun to try. And he knows this is year one. We'll hope to do more of these next year, start on opening weekend instead of the third weekend. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
First pitch here to Landon White. This is the 4-hole hitter here in the fourth inning. White, Morisaki, and Brass facing Jake Cumming. Pippins scoring 2 runs there in the bottom of the third inning. I know you were on with Cole Weber, the Berries broadcaster, on Friday. What kind of things did you talk about as we brought that first game of the week to our viewers and tried to get the league out there?
Well, I think we talked about the technology. That's something I think he asked me basically what makes the West Coast League what it is. Talked about the tech, talked about the incredible geography, all the different, the huge footprint that we have. There's no other collegiate summer league where the players fly to go to play in games. I mean, it really is something special. All the great ballparks that we have, the scenery. It's just there's nothing else like this.
2-1 pitch. That's a strike to make the count 2-2 here to White. Grounded out back in the second inning. And so we talked about the All-Star game last year when it was in Bellingham, but now Victoria getting to host, a Canadian team getting to host the All-Star game. How exciting is that?
Well, for anyone who hasn't been to Victoria, you hop on that ferry in Port Angeles, you go across the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and all of a sudden you're in the most English city in Canada, in North America probably. And it's really a fantastic experience. The ballpark there, the big ballpark.
Payoff pitch misses down and in. That's a walk to Landon White, leadoff base runner here for the AppleSox.
Great crowds for the Harbor Cats games. And for anyone who wants to preview, Victoria is where is home of the game of the week in 2 nights from now. So you could watch the game of the week this week, and then in a couple more weeks you can watch the All-Star game from there. And they have done, it's going to be the biggest event in West Coast League history. All the things they have planned around it, the home run derby with different teams, and Kevin Pillar, the ex-Major League star, is going to be a part of that. It's going to be phenomenal.
First pitch here to Kanoa Morisaki is just a touchdown, 1-0. Cumming struggling with the strike zone here to start. Yeah, I saw Kevin Pillar was added to the roster of folks that are going to be there. As a Braves fan, he played for the Braves very shortly in his career, but most notably with the Blue Jays. That's going to be exciting to have some major league talent, some ex-major league talent at the event for some of our future major leaguers. Will this ball stay in play for Trey Godoy? It will drop in front of him.
Yeah, I don't even know the full scope of all the things that the Harbor Cats have planned. There's so much I haven't been able to keep track of. I know there's going to be an event on the front lawn of the the provincial legislature building, which is right there when you get off the ferry in the harbor. I mean, it's really hard to describe unless you've been there. It's such a dramatic setting for all sorts of things.
1 ball and 1 strike here. There's a strike number 2 from Cumming. He has 4 strikeouts tonight. He's issued now 4 walks. I'm really looking forward to potentially going back and even just watching. I know I helped the league out a little bit with media last year, but even just the thought of going to Victoria, we don't play them in the regular season this year. I'm really excited the fact that we get to feature a Canadian team for the best event of the summer for this league, as that's going to get through for a base hit on the left side. First 2 have reached for the AppleSox. White up to second, Morisaki at first after the single.
Well, Harmon, when I joined the league 8 years ago, we only had 11 teams. Everyone played everyone. So you would have gotten to go everywhere, including Victoria and Kelowna, British Columbia, and Port Angeles. But with 16 teams and being so far flung, those travel opportunities are not the same as they used to be for the players and the broadcasters.
Now, when we talked last year, there were actually 17 teams. The Cowlitz Black Bears still had a franchise. Here's a bunt down. Is Almeida going to have one play on to first? Successful sacrifice by Cooper Brass. Certainly unfortunate we lost the Black Bears, but I think we've seen with the even divisions now a super competitive first half.
It's been a fantastic first half all around the league, with just about everybody in contention for, if not the first half title, and there are only really 3 teams who have legitimate shots at those at this point, I would say, barring a miracle. A lot of teams have hope for the entire season.
Jake Overstreet in his second at-bat waves and misses. He struck out the first time up. Let's get into the South. That's been kind of a gauntlet to start here. Ridgefield at 16-6 coming into today. But then you've got Yakima Valley and Walla Walla at 11-11. Corvallis at 10-11, doing some non-leagues this week. Portland at 9-10. Marion at 10-12. I mean, That is 4 games, 3 games of separation for those teams in the South.
Right, and the teams that are toward the bottom of that list, they've all have histories of being very competitive, and you can almost assume that they will continue to play well, if not better, over the course of the season.
Yeah, we saw Bend get a big win. Here's a bounce away from Parker Burt. Still doesn't know where the baseball is. 1 run scores, and so the lead cut in half. Moving up to third, Kanoa Morisaki. A little bit of an interesting play there. Parker couldn't find the baseball.
And a lot of foul ground here.
Yes. But we saw a team like Springfield competing last night, getting a win. Bend getting a win last night against the Ridgefield Raptors, who are in the first place in South. And so nothing really has changed standings-wise. But again, those 2 bottom teams right now, even though the record says they're having a little bit of a struggle, have played some really good games. Nice stop over there at short by Daichi. And that's a big second out recorded here in this 4th inning.
Well, and perhaps the most interesting story for anyone who's not a Corvallis Knights fan is that the Knights have not played as well as we're used to seeing them play early in the season. I think everyone expects them to play well in the second half, if not sooner. Not that they've played poorly, but they have not dominated as we're so used to seeing them do.
First pitch here to Castagnola is ball 1. And some exciting news about the Knights. Oregon State and Goss Stadium are putting in a little bit of an upgrade over the next year or so to give the Knights their own space there at Goss, where they spend a lot of their time during the summer.
That's exactly right. I am so happy for that news. I didn't know anything about it until I saw it today. Great news for them to have their own dedicated space in that stadium, which I believe they've never had. They've had to sort of make do, and Oregon State's been great to allow them to play there. And obviously, it's a huge selling point for them, both for their fans and potential players, that you come to play at Goss Stadium on campus there, where home of 3 national champions. It's a great environment, but to have an actual office in the space is going to be great for them.
Yeah, and I remember my first trip down to Goss last year. Pippins get to end the year with both Goss and Walker Stadium, 2 of the harder places to play
yes.
in the West Coast League. I remember my first trip. It's like, man, yeah, this is a D1 facility, and
yes.
They have all the toys and all the extra stuff that goes along with being a D1 facility. And of course, I'm spoiled coming from Nebraska. We have Haymarket Park, which seats 8,000, but between Remax Field and Goss Stadium, 2 of the best stadiums to play on in this league.
Yes.
A walk here to James Castagnola. We're having a chat with Rob Neyer. My dad, Dwayne Johnson, here doing Pecos League play-by-play. And I know you're kind of a baseball historian in your own right. So is there any dialogue that I can spark between you two about maybe the lesser-known baseball in this country?
Well, I am not a Pecos League expert by any means, but it's funny. I just happened to be looking at their map just a week or so ago and was sort of blown away by how, speaking of far-flung, there's nothing like the Pecos League outside of MLB.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those leagues that if you ever looked and seen who all is in the league and where they're going, and the guys do a ton of traveling on their own to do it, and it's nothing to have a 9-hour drive to go someplace to play ball. And
I just thought it was because of the name, and I think tradition. It was mostly Texas and maybe New Mexico, but not anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely expanded. North Platte's as far north as they go. They added Kansas City last year, but then ended up not being able to keep them in the league. Now there's Trinidad and I just drew a
Grand
blank.
Junction.
Grand Junction is joined in, and so it's an interesting layout. Put it that way.
And there are teams in California now.
Yep.
West Coast League and the Pecos League sharing some geographical separators. Edmonton's a ways up there. That trip was certainly different than anything I experienced last year, as this play might end the inning. Popped up over on that right side. This is the second baseman, Hubka, making the catch. Well, Rob, it's been great to have you in the booth. I'm so glad we could catch up again, and exciting times here for the West Coast League.
Always good to be here, and I know I mentioned this last year, but you are a real asset for this league, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Best of luck. Have fun on the travels.
Thanks. Take care.
We'll be back, bottom of the fourth inning here at the Orchard.